Welcome to our Meet the Experts cinematography panel. Today we are joined by Paul Guilhaume from Emilia Pérez, Jomo Fray from Nickel Boys, and Alice Brooks from Wicked. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
I'm curious to know, like, when you first read a script, like, how quickly do you picture in your mind how you want to compose a scene or shoot a scene or approach a scene, or does it just vary from script to script? Paul, let's start with you.
Um, when I read the script, I think there are two questions. The question that I have as a cinematographer is, can I see images emerging, or do I feel that I cannot see maybe the images? And I heard Jomo before answer a question pretty close to that, and you were telling that you get you kind of search the moment where you're like, I don't have the image yet. And until now, I've more been kind of believing in that moment where I'm like, okay, I can see something different. This film is for me. But maybe the next step is what you described, Joe.
I don't think next step, just a different step. But yeah,
So, Jomo, how about you?
yeah, I think that this is maybe a hot take for a cinematographer, but when I first read a script, the movies that really compel me to really want to take the meeting and want to think about it are the ones that I finish and I haven't been able to see an image. I don't know what the hell this movie looks like. I think that for me, there's something in that excites me because it kind of means that we're gonna have to find it together. Like the director and I are gonna really have to dig for something. And I think that I love when images surprise me. I love when images surprise me in other people's work. I love when images surprise me on set. I love when images surprise me of even something that I was one of the architects of. And on the day when you kind of see all the things come together, there's something that is part of the magic to me of the experience. So yeah, I think that I often go for things where I don't really know what they'll
You
look
like the
like.
challenge. You want the challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want the challenge, but even if it's not like kind of a conceptually large movie, but something where it's like, oh, clearly there's so much personality and history of the director put into the script that it's exciting to me to like, okay, great. It's going to take, weeks of us going out for dinner and just talking and getting to know each other to kind of figure out what is this image because I'm getting to know this person and really try to make a specific and bespoke thing for this director and for this script and for the project. I think yeah, the kind of finding it together, whether it's high concept or not high concept, yeah, I think that's really fun for me.
Mhm.
I think for
Yeah.
me, it's if I go to bed after reading a script and I really don't want to shoot it because it stirred something up so much in me that
Mm.
it that and I go to bed going, I'm absolutely not doing this movie. And then I wake up the next morning and I can't get it out of my head. And then and for instance, like when I did Tick Tick Boom, I read it and I put it away. I said, there's no way I'm doing this. And then the next morning I woke up and I like opened my iPad and it was still there. I'm like, I loved the story so much, but it was emotionally, I was like, can I sit with that emotion for such a long time? Um, Wicked, I didn't have a script. I knew this show, but I didn't have a script. Um, and that was different because it was just like, okay, I'm getting on this train with John Chu because I've known him for 25 years and it's going to be thrilling and exciting. And I know we're going to make a great movie together. Um, but again, it was the emotion because I love making movies with John because of that emotional storytelling. And I know if everything my mentor once said to me, in cinematography there's no perfect frame and there's no perfect lighting. This was when I was in film school, and I that rings in my head all the time. And he's like, in a still photograph you can have that perfect frame, but not in cinematography because everything's constantly moving, and the light, the actors, the camera. And And so I know if people walk out of a movie and they felt something, that I've done my job. But if someone came out of a movie that I shot and said, "Oh, that was technically perfect," then I wouldn't have done my job, because I want them to I want them to be in that emotion of what the characters are feeling. And so I think if there's a script where I know that exists, that's what I want to do. But it's usually in a script that I want to walk away from, because it stirs something inside me.
Yeah. Well, in that similar vein, I guess, like, what is it like for you as cinematographers when you do see the first cut or the final cut of a film? Like you were, you shot all these images and now you see it all as a whole. Like, has there been any cases that surprised you in a good or a bad way when you see the final product? Jomo, how about you?
Yeah,
You don't have to name the
I
bad
hate
ones.
no, I hate it. I think it's something that I've gotten better at forgiving myself for, disliking the process of seeing a first cut, or even a late cut. I think that there's something about, I'm obsessive about my work. I'm obsessive about the image, and I think that feature filmmaking is a really fascinating thing where, again, I think it's at some level, you go in saying that you totally know you're in control of every aspect of the image, of what's going to happen. But in my experience, it's often that you're finding the movie. You're finding the movie together with the actors, with the director, everyone is finding the movie together. And I oftentimes feel like at the end of the movie, it's like, okay, now I'm ready to make this movie. So there's a way in which I oftentimes, when I'm seeing a cut later, I'm seeing it as the person who has learned a lot of things about filmmaking, about the movie itself. And the things that I've learned have now been internalized. So then when I see what I perceive to be mistakes of mine or things I wish I had done differently, it's difficult for me. It's difficult for me. But yeah, I think like Alice is saying, when I know it works at some level, when I can, like, even with my kind of obsessive aspects about it, when I can feel something, when I've watched a cut and it's like one of those things where you are one of the architects, how this is designed, like kind of the magic trick you can see behind it, and yet I'm still getting teary, or I'm really like plumbing the depths of myself. I think it doesn't happen often, but when it does, it really, I think that that's the high I'm constantly chasing in cinematography, is that feeling when you are just moved emotionally. And it kind of doesn't matter that you were on set and you saw how it was made. It's just evocative. Um, so I think that every project is with the hope that that'll happen. But yeah, I'm a harsh critic, and I'm not a fan of watching
You
edits.
sound like actors who don't want to watch their own work.
I definitely get it.
Alice, how about you?
I mean, every single time I watch a rough cut or a third cut or a fifth cut or a 20th cut, all I can do is go, "Oh, I next time I'm going to do, in order to make it better." Like right, as artists, we always want to do a better job and make and grow. And I think each scene you shoot is an opportunity to continue to grow and to pull you in different directions and to challenge you and to make you a stronger storyteller. And so I think if I just sat and watched a movie and felt, okay, I did a great job, then I wouldn't be changing and growing and evolving over time. And I love working with John because we've grown together. We have literally grown up together. We were 22 years old when we met, and we're now 45. And we now are watching our children grow up, and our spouses are friends, and it's really remarkable to constantly challenge each other. And then I go off and make other movies with other people. I'm doing one right now, and I'm growing in a very different way, but then I can bring that back to our relationship. And I think um, and it's interesting, though. I say this because when I saw Wicked for the first time, it's the first time I watched a rough cut, and I didn't even think about my work. I just sat back and I watched
At the fan, like
no, I sat there and I was completely immersed in these two women,
Oh.
and I didn't sit there and criticize my work. On the second and third and fourth viewing, I did. But on that first one, it was the first time I've ever just watched the movie and gone and just like I cried, I felt something, and the movie has evolved so much from that very first cut, but it was really it was a different experience than I've had, and I highly doubt that will happen again because I'm very critical as well.
well, Paul, how about you? Are you your own harshest critic?
No, yeah, usually I've always warned directors not to invite me too early in the process of the editing because I think I get panic attacks when I see it. Like, but there's something that's very real for me is that before the sound mixing, the movie is not really like a movie. It looks like even with the best directors, there's something that just doesn't flow, and it looks like it's not finished, or it's very strange. And you can watch a film without any grading, but with a good sound, then you'll get just into the story. So it's always very complicated to me to see those early steps, and maybe a little bit like Alice on that film on Emilia Pérez when I went to a screening. There was a lot of guests, and it was still very early because it was before the VFX actually worked, because it was just to kind of validate the editing. And we were into this cinema, and with there were 400 shots with blue screens somewhere in the back and yeah, for the first time it's not I I didn't really see the movie, but I was kind of okay. Wow, we did that also. This was like growing, and so this film was so big for all of us to make with so many different times and sequences that it was like okay, we did that. Yeah, and then yeah, I only see the film for the first time during a premiere, I think, after all of the work, and then suddenly you have the people around you, and you can feel if the film is working or not when you are surrounded with real people with the emotion of the first screening.
Yeah, sure.
That's fun.
Um,
No,
yeah, and
I actually haven't seen Wicked with an audience, and I'm going to see it on Saturday night for the first time with people. So that's I hadn't thought about that. That is that it's very true. Like you want to feel what other people are around you feeling. I mean, that's why we make movies, right? Is so that it's that collective experience of watching a film in a theater.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and it's the only moment where suddenly it's not work anymore. Yeah, there's nothing to do. It's just you just can't be
Can't change anything anymore.
you can't change it, and you can
the
stop
best thing
criticizing
you can do.
yourselves.
Yeah. But truly, I feel like there's something that feels like magic in those screenings where you can hear the room hold its breath, where you can hear them all collectively laugh or hear people tear up. Like genuinely, it feels like magic. Like it is, these people came into this room ostensibly with a neutral emotional profile. And because of sound and images and light, they're literally emotions evoking out of their body that they can't stop. Is like, so
I
so
have to
great. I
imagine
mean, I'm not telling you guys, but
yeah, but I have to imagine it's even more special when it's like for a moment where you least expect someone to react that way. You didn't expect them to cry at the scene when you were shooting it. It was just like another, run-of-the-mill scene for you, but like, oh my God, they're actually crying at this moment.
totally. Yeah, no,
It's
it's
a big
really
emotion.
special. But as Paul said, it's when it becomes theirs, like it becomes the audience's. And at some level, all you can do is kind of sit there and see how it is experienced. Yes, yeah, really grateful for those moments. Yeah.
Well, finally, do you guys remember the first time you were really wowed by an image on film? I'm assuming it might be like when you were a kid, maybe like, but do you remember that moment or what you were watching? Oh,
I remember it's the first movie I remember watching, and I was 5, and I was curled up in my dad's arms, and we were watching The Natural by Caleb Deschanel. And there was something about it that I knew was magic, and I didn't know what it was at the time. And it was light. I mean, I think the lighting in that movie, I've got goosebumps just thinking about the film. And and I can still see every image in my head. And actually in Wicked, we do this big explosion at the end when Elphaba says, no wizard that there ever was is ever going to bring me down. And all of Emerald City gets brighter and brighter and brighter, and then explode, all the bulbs explode. And I kept saying, oh, it's the natural, to the special effects team. I'm like, I want the bulbs to explode like the natural. And we shot in London, and the natural's an American baseball movie.
They're like,
And
what's that?
they had no clue what it was. And so then I YouTubed it and showed it to them, and they're like, oh, this is great. And so that's my that's my
I love that. The natural is inspo for Wicked. Yes. Who's next? Who has something? Jomo, Paul? Don't remember.
Man, yeah, it's honestly, I think that's like Alice, there's so many images throughout my life that have probably like been really like clicked in, like, you know, off the top of my head, like, you know, moments in Empire Strikes Back, in the carbonite chamber, carbonite freezing room, like the blues and the oranges of that. Maybe the first time I saw The Conformist, some of the work that Storaro did on that. And, you know, I think one of the moments where it kind of hit me, because, you know, really early on I had said I wanted to be a filmmaker to my family, but I think the first time like images specifically kind of hit me was when I watched In the Mood for Love, shot by Christopher Doyle and directed by Wong Kar-wai. I think it was one of the, you know, iconic shots from that movie of Maggie Cheung kind of going down to get noodles. And there was something that I stopped reading the subtitles completely for the rest of the movie. I just kind of was locked in and entranced by the movie. And there was a weird way in which I didn't know what people were saying. I didn't know kind of what the drama was, but I felt it. I knew, I recognized those feelings and the images and the music alone of, you know, quizás, 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 like it just
It transcends
completely,
literal
yeah.
language. Yeah.
It truly, yes. I think that was, I think you said it so well. I think that was the moment when it felt to me like, oh, an image truly can, you know, I think that there's a way in which, you know, racism, sexism, homophobia, there are a lot of things that get in the way of humans communicating with other humans. And images aren't perfect. They also have their own history. But I think it was in moments like that where it showed me like, whoa, an image can really take you to a place that's so hard for language to take you to, a place of truly seeing another person, really feeling a shared emotion. And I think it was Christopher Doyle's work on that movie that kind of put it on the table, that I didn't know that movies could do that. I know that they could transport me, but I'm not sure I knew that they could burrow so deep into my heart so quickly. That was new.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Paul, how about you?
Well, I don't. I think as a teen, a young person discovering cinema, I was just first struck by films that were very different, and I think I didn't have the tools at one point to know why I was just struck by those films. And I think now I can say that Faces, maybe by John Cassavetes, was my first huge emotion of image, but at the time I was thinking it was just the film itself. But or maybe The Seven Samurais from Kurosawa, and now I know that okay, this black and white is silvery. It has always very strong highlights, but it's not burning the image. So very a lot of technical reading that I can do now, but at the time I was thinking that it was just a film that was magic, and I had no way to explain how.
Yeah. Now you know the nuances of it. Yeah. Well, we have to wrap, unfortunately, but it was great speaking with all of you guys. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations again on all of your projects.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Bye.
good one.